about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a best-selling author, human potential expert, ultra consciousness guide, no other than Miss Daphne Michaels.
Thank you, Daniel.
Welcome to
Happy to
Book
be here.
101. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Daphne. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
I'm a human potential expert. I've been working for over 25 years, helping people reach their highest potential through ultra consciousness.
Miss Daphne Michaels, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about the gifted. Free your inner gift for a brand new life. How do you define gifted beyond talent or IQ to include innate qualities like intuition, empathy, or resilience that society often overlooks?
We are all gifted. There is absolutely no doubt that we hold inner gifts, and these gifts are very much the same. We all have the gift of potential. We all have the gift of awareness. We all have the gift of stillness. And in this day and age, these are the gifts that we need to develop. There are actually 9 gifts in my book, and these are all gifts that we need to develop today to be above all of the trauma and drama in our life, in our world. This is about being a human being on a path to expanded consciousness.
Miss Daphne, why do so many people disconnect from their innate gift? Is it cultural conditioning, trauma, or fear of visibility?
I think it's all three. And that's a great question, Danielle. Why do so many of us disconnect from these gifts that are ours? They are our birthright. I think we are not raised to believe that we have to develop our inner self, that without internal development, without spiritual development, we will be a shell of a person and we will be lost in our lives. So, all three of those things that you talked about come into play in terms of why we're not developing ourselves on this level.
Why is reclaiming our inner gift especially critical in today's world of burnout, digital overload, and existential uncertainty?
I think everybody who is trying to survive in uncertainty right now is not going to be able to do well unless they have a strong inner sense of self. So maybe 10 years ago or 20 years ago, we could focus on the outside world and find our place in the outside world. And that place seemed very stable. Now, that place does not seem stable. So people that are trying to find a place in an external world that is filled with uncertainty are going to feel completely lost. And when we develop our own gifts, we find a place inside ourselves and inside the world that we can create certainty around.
Miss Daphne, let's talk about the uncovering process. What role do childhood passions, sensitives, or recurring struggles play in identifying suppressed gift? And how can listeners start mining their past?
It's a great question. Our sense of self is developed at a very early age. And sometimes our gift, our sense of self is true. And sometimes our sense of self is not true to who we are. We learned at an early age to be something we are not. So, what we have to do is we have to get back to the truth of who we are. So, when we're looking at childhood trauma, that trauma is sitting right on top of our truth. Unhealed trauma is blocking us from our truth. Our passions from when we were a child, they give us a little bit of a clue in terms of who we are and who we're meant to be. And then, of course, our own potential to become who we are really meant to be is sitting right there inside us.
Miss Daphne, how might a person's perceived flaws like overthinking or intensity actually be misaligned or suppressed gift waiting to be reclaimed?
Yeah, our psyche is a complex organization. And that's one thing that most people don't really understand unless they've studied it. So, in my work, I started out as a psychotherapist, and I was able to sit with people and understand how they limit themselves through their ego structure. The word ego is difficult to understand, but basically, what it means is our defense structure. It's who we become in an uncertain world. When things don't feel safe, we're going to have ways of reacting to it. We're going to have ways of facing it. We're going to have thinking patterns that try to protect us but actually limit us. All of this is coded into the way we think, coded into our mind. So our limited thinking just keeps us from exploring our own gifts. We have to get beyond that. Once we decide that we're going to uncover who we really are so that we can move forward in our lives aligned with our highest potential, then those thinking patterns actually settle down. And because we have made the choice to move forward with our own life, we're able to master our thinking processes so that they support us.
Very well said, Miss Daphne. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. Very well said. What somatic practices help people physically sense when they are aligned or misaligned with their gift?
It's kind of interesting because when we first tap into who we are at a deeper level, it may create alchemy in our life. And alchemy is the process of turning something lower, like in science, alchemy was turning base metal like lead or tin into gold. Now we really don't know whether the alchemists 5,000 years ago were able to actually turn lead into gold. But what they did was they gave us a, a model. And that model says if you have a conflict, in a conflict between two substances, and they go through the alchemical process of purification, evaporation, distillation, and crystallization on a higher level, this is exactly what happens inside our psyche. So sometimes on our way to a higher state of consciousness, we are going to have somatic experiences that are a little uncomfortable. We may feel like we are unfamiliar to ourselves. We may feel agitated. We may feel sad. We may have grief. I work with people all the time who, on their way to uncover who they are, all of those emotions start coming up. so that they can be released. However, there are energetic processes, and I'm sure you've heard of Reiki or different energetic processes that can actually help to transmute the energetics of what is happening inside our subconscious so that we can get free from those old patterns. Once we're free, the somatic experiences are much more about living with an open heart. We start really liking ourselves. We like our neighbors. We're on a high vibration. We're on a natural high in life because our own potential is freed up. And when our potential is freed up, we move into a life of ease. And we even start manifesting our life. I have so many people that say to me, I'm actually beginning to speak my life into existence. What I say is starting to happen just because my intention is leading the way. These are all what happens when we allow our gifts to come forward and we start living our life on a higher bandwidth.
Miss Daphne, let's talk about the liberation and integration. What internal permissions, like to rest, to say, or to be imperfect, are essential for freeing gifts that feel risky to express?
So, the internal process is all about intention. Our intention is so powerful. As human beings, there is an entire technology that we have that brings our visions into reality through intention. So, the internal permission is to first of all say our intention. What do we want? Secondly, we need to align our will with our higher self because that's really what we're giving a chance to form. We're leaving the ego behind and we're giving ourselves permission to become the best version of who we are. So we have to align our will with this higher sense of self.
Again, Miss Daphne, beautifully articulated. Very well said. And why does fully stepping into our gift require embracing vulnerability? How do you help readers navigate that discomfort?
Vulnerability is a really interesting word because, technically speaking, vulnerability means that we're opening ourselves to attack. So we're becoming vulnerable to attack. And it may feel that way. When we start relaxing our ego, there's going to be a part of us that says, oh my gosh, I don't have the same defense structure. If somebody's going to be mean to me, I'm not going to be able to respond to that because I've let go of those old coping skills. So I feel completely vulnerable. But what happens is the old defense structure that keeps us limited gives way to this path of heart. And on the path of heart, we meet people on the path of heart because of the vibration that we're carrying. Oftentimes, we do not need to worry about being vulnerable because the vibration of the heart is so powerful that it's going to protect us. So that's how we deal with vulnerability. We trust that the power of our heart, our innocence, our wholeness, our higher self, that the power of this energy protects us because it does.
It does. And Miss Daphne, as a best-selling author, human potential expert, and ultra consciousness guide, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
I am on this path forever. People say, will you retire one day? You can't retire from a path that is way beyond a career. So, 25 years ago, I stepped onto this path in terms of teaching others to come into a higher state of consciousness in daily life. I've had an institute, I've done amazing programs and so forth. And recently, about a year ago, I started a movement. And the movement is called Stewards of a Higher Bandwidth. And it's really about people from all walks of life coming together and learning to live life on a higher bandwidth where we're able to live the truth of who we're supposed to be and tap into our highest potential and learn a new way of being with each other. So this is my long-term goal, is to continue to teach inside this movement, continue to grow this movement, and having amazing people coming together and literally changing the world because of our consciousness.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Daphne, and looking forward for more and more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be a best-selling author, a human potential expert, as well as the ultra consciousness guide?
Follow your path. These gifts that you have inside you lead somewhere. I have guided literally hundreds of people and touched thousands of people through my books and so forth. So, what I know to be true is that we each have a path and we can feel it is somatic. We can actually feel when we are on our path and when we're not. If we follow our path, we are going to be doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, whether it's being a human potential expert, ultra consciousness guide, writing books, impacting the world in a positive way. It is already inside us. All we have to do is develop it.
Yes, indeed, people, we need to develop our gift so that we will unleash to the world and be your legacy to the world. And thank you for your advice, Miss Daphne. And can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey, or books that influence your journey?
I liked The Prophet by Cahill Gibran. I think I like classics. And when I wrote The Gifted, it was really in this kind of energy where The Gifted is more like something that somebody would put on their nightstand because it's a short book, it's about 100 pages, and it's inspirational in terms of reminding us that there's something higher, something more grand, something mysterious, and that this is the path that will take us to our soul's deepest desires.
Thank you for that recommended book, Miss Daphne. And let's talk about the brand new life promise. Beyond career shift, what subtle signs indicate someone is living a brand new life aligned with their gift?
We begin to think differently, we begin to feel differently, our activities change. We no longer want to be around situations that bother us or bring us down. We want to be around situations that lift us up. We begin to um, we begin to guide others just by our presence. We bring a light to our life and the world that others appreciate. Doors open because we're present and we're ready. Every part of our life changes for the better when we are on our path developing our gifts.
Indeed, we need to develop it, people. How does gift centered living differ from chasing a singular life purpose? Is this a messier but more authentic?
So it depends on the life purpose. I don't think people end up with happiness if they're just chasing a purpose that is limited. So, in other words, a lot of people are concerned about money, and there's nothing wrong with abundance. In fact, my another one of my books is Mountaintop Prosperity, and I talk about money and abundance and where that comes from. However, if we are just trying to create, follow a purpose that we think is going to bring us happiness through, say, career success or something like that, it's not going to give us the satisfaction all the way down to our soul. So, in other words, it's fine to follow a purpose, but it's even better to follow a path.
Yes, indeed, a path that money and abundance will flow upon me. Like that, people.
It's true. It really is true.
Yes, when individuals free their gift, how does this transform communities, workplaces, or families beyond personal fulfillment?
One thing that happens as we follow our own path, we grow spiritually. And I'm not talking about any particular religion, I'm talking about our own relationship to the universe in terms of who we are. And what we discover is that there's something very common that happens. We want to engage on this higher level. So when we follow our gifts, we naturally impact our community differently because we want to bring goodness to our community. We want to bring goodness to the world. And the same is true with our family. We just become more of a force in this vibration that we are creating inside ourselves that's based on the path of heart. And that's a community vibration.
Again, Miss Daphne, beautifully. Beautifully articulated. Very well said. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Daphne, what's one radical yet gentle action you've urged every reader to take within 24 hours of finishing The Gifted?
Think about your intention. Start with your intention, write it down, reach for it. Really get clear. What do I want my life to be about? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to experience? Do I want to walk this path of consciousness and develop my gifts so that I can live a life that is connected to the universe and I am bringing my best self to the world?
Yes, indeed. Miss Daphne Michaels, best-selling author, human potential expert, and ultra consciousness guide. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you, Danielle, and thank you for having me. This has been an absolute delight, and thank you for your work and your gifts and developing them. So to connect with me, go to daphnemichaels.com. You will see there a free SHIB experience where you can sign up and you'll work with me one on one for free or in a small group where I can help you with your energy and help you move your life forward. I also have the SHIB movement, and there are other books on Amazon.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Daphne Michaels because if you support her, more and more and more empowering books to come, more and more and more empowering coaching to come, and for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Miss Daphne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.